Hello ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having an amazing day. In today's video we're going over all the weapon values and basically giving you all the priorities, what you should prioritize from those weapons. And as you can see, we have interesting tiers. Like must-have will be basically the weapons that are like most important to get first. High value will be weapons that have a high meta relevant value and or have a huge potential to be future proof, depending what characters release and how soon they release soon. So for that, like high value, still like meta relevant, but not necessarily must have. Good value but gimmick, usually the weapons that are like very good on their user, but like gimmick because no one else can actually leverage those weapons, but they're still like good in the value. Low value, basically too specific. I think like almost like goes hand in hand, like too specific is also low value, and those weapons are basically, they're just better options than them, and they're like not even like almost not worth investment unless you already have those. And the last one, obviously worst value. This is basically self-explanatory. There's like the worst weapons you should never pick and you should never build unless you want to like purposely just brick your account. And so if that's the case, it is what it is. So yeah, moving forward, I would say the first weapon we're gonna mention is Overture. This is easily the must-have. With Luke releasing, this is the weapon you usually use on Sanhua. It's always usable because Sanhua is free after first 5 days of login. As a new player, you get her for free. She's right up on the beginner banner, and she's basically the fastest rotating unit in the game, and Luke Herson will probably use her to have a meta relevancy. So this weapon, with basically providing her instant rotation, and it's a 4-star, very easy weapon to like obtain. I would say very good priority as a must-have. The second one will be MARCATO, which is also a concerto weapon. Basically what I forgot to mention, the Overture, MARCATO, and all of these three weapons are concerto weapons. Basically that means when you activate the resonance skill, you get 8 concerto energy more for that resonance skill, up to 16 concerto energy extra if you have R5 version, which is like 5 ranks. So MARCATO is kind of good, but a gimmick because only actual unit that can leverage this weapon is JIYAN, who actually uses this weapon, but JIYAN is not really a good unit, so is this weapon. But it works on JIYAN and makes her kind of like okay, gives her better like rotation time. And the only other unit that uses this is if you have unbuilt Yuno, then you kind of want to use this to not like waste your 5-star weapons. And but when she's built, she will not use this weapon. So that's basically for MARCATO. Next one is CADENZA. It used to be up here, then it went down here because static mist was just way better. But with double pond matrix and how much less relevant the 4-star damage is for Mortefi, Sanhua, and those like characters, this weapon is right here. So it's high value because now like the damage difference between this and static mist is kind of becoming less and less relevant for Mortefi. So it's right here. Very good weapon, not a must-have if you have a static mist, but definitely still a very good choice. The next one will be Variation. This one is equipped on Shorekeeper, who is available on beginning banner. Verina, who's a free unit as well. Even Buling, even though I think there's other weapon that can be used instead of this on Buling. This can be used on Baija and many future rectified supports, and because it gives concerto, it's very good for like supports and like team-wide buffers. So yeah, definitely a must-have weapon because Verina is free, so you will have Verina. You need those units to actually build teams, and so you can like have like easy time clearing the end game. And double pond matrix, just having 2 variation is also recommended, so having 1 is just not even a question at this point. Next one is a Discord Broadblade. This one is similar to CADENZA, but I will say a bit better because Morni, who is currently 3.0 character, is a very powerful support, and at S1 she's just the best universal support, even better than Shorekeeper, and she can use this weapon to actually ignore her signature weapon. Basically this weapon gives you almost the same performance as that of her signature. Gives you the energy requirement, gives you the concertos, you can like rotate faster, do some crazy rotations. And so yeah, Morny really appreciates Discord, so this weapon at R5 is just the best weapon you can equip on Morny. You don't really need the Morny signature at this point. So besides that weapon, the next weapon, now we're getting to 5 stars, that's for 4 stars. Actually, let me actually get this out of the way. There is this Call of the Abyss weapon. I would say this rectifier that's obtained from exploration in Rinasita, from those 3 purple towers. That exploration, at the end of the exploration quest, you get this 1 copy for free. That's all you need. And this is, in my opinion, the best in slot for bullying. So definitely high value, not a must, because if you don't have bullying yet, this weapon will not outperform a variation. Variation is way better. But for bullying, who doesn't really need that much concerto, and you don't really want to finish the concerto energy too fast, this weapon is way better in my opinion, way better performance. So that's for those good 4 stars. Let's just take the Battle Pass weapons out of the way. Yeah, this is the worst value you can possibly make. Low base attack means all the attack buffs from Shorekeeper, Moonlight Clouds, Rejuvenating Glow, Verina, any like S6 from Mortefi, and Sanhua, all of those are going getting nerfed by the fact that you have low base attack on these weapons. So yeah, these weapons are just waste of value. Just in that box where you can select Battle Pass weapons, just select the tuners. It's way better because that's actual value, where this is just a waste of value. I have R5 of the rectifier and a gauntlet. Honestly, the R1 of any 5-star as a stat stick does give me way better performance than these weapons. That's kinda diabolic, me having R5 of this and still not keeping up with R1 stat sticks of 5-star. Crazy work, but yeah, it is what it is. These are like 3-4 stars from like one for Phoebe, one for Camellia back in the days, but honestly, in 2026, if you don't have critical stats and high base attack, you're just not a good weapon for a main DPS. So that just, it is what it is. But on to the next. Now let's go to the, yeah, I think that's all of the 4 stars. Everything else is just garbage, even more. So for the 5 stars, we go with Lustrous Razor. This one is low value. Doesn't have a crit stats. It's a standard weapon. There's a better option. So that's for that very bad weapon, but it's not the worst because still, if you have it, you can have the use case, but not needed anymore. Emerald Genesis, one of the best swords in the game, if not probably the best sword in the entire game. Doesn't give that much buffs from its skill. Gives energy regen, gives attack percentage buff, gives a critical rate 24% and high base attack. Very good for any unit. Even the newest Aim It is performing on a high level using this weapon. She basically doesn't need her signature because this weapon exists. That's how much value this weapon has. You can use it on Havoc Rover, Aim It, Camellia. You can use it on Danjin, Yang, Sanhua for like sub DPSs. You can use it on any future like sword user. So it's like, it's so good. Even Brand, even like, yeah, like there's so many use cases. Like in short, this weapon is just used by all of them, and any future sword user can just use this weapon. That's like how good this standard weapon is. Next one will be Static Mist. Easily, like, not really as good as Emerald Genesis for main DPS, but for sub DPSs, this is probably the dream weapon. Every sub DPS like Lene, for example, wants this weapon easily. Chacona as well, and yeah, those are currently like meta units, and so yeah, them wanting this also gives Mortefi even more value. Yeah, like this weapon overall, like every future pistol sub DPS will use this weapon, and it's just that good. Next one is a BSURGES, same thing as Lustrous. This gives you 10% basic attack damage and 10% resin skill damage bonus. Absolute garbage for a standard weapon, and this was used on Zani, this was used on Yuno, but it's so cringe because there's actually way better option right now. Next one is Cosmic Ripples. This one's only here because there's no other standard rectifier that's usable. on as a budget. So while that's a thing, this weapon is so close to go here. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It's not really good. If you don't have, if you have it already, it's fine, but it's weak. It's weak. Low base attack, high 50% attack increase. When we have a low base attack, as I said before, with these weapons, like the lower the base attack is, the lower the attack percentage increase is. So yeah. Next one is a new standard Broadblade, and this one is actually here because it has a critical stats like 48% critical damage and high base attack, 12% attack increase, and if you're using like if you're attacking Tune Strain the target, you get 24% liberation damage increase, which is good for Calciaro, which is good for someone like Lupa, but nobody freaking cares because that's currently not a thing. So it's just a stat stick, and same like Emerald Genesis, it just gives you a stat stick and a 12% extra attack, which is very good. And Augusta performs well with this. Lupa, who's a meta like fusion unit, performs amazing with this. And many other units, right? Like you have Calciaro, he can still clear some towers with this weapon. Like this weapon is just overall very useful, and you'll eventually need a Broadblade for your Broadblade character, right? So this weapon is just like sword is more must, I would say, because Broadblade users are not really as developed. There's not really many Broadblade DPSs that you should pull right now, besides Augusta, Lupa, even like Chisa. I would say like there's so many like meta relevant units. I would say yeah, at this point it's like almost equal. The next weapon I will say from standard is a sword, and this was garbage. No one can use this, and there's actually a free-to-play option that's like exactly the same, and there's no reason to pull this weapon. It's just a waste of pulls. No crit, ER as a main stat, and high base attack, but nobody cares because without crit, if you standard weapon without crit, you're just coping. Like like in 2026 we need the crit stats on those weapons, and you'll see why in a second. So the next one we'll talk about is the best standard weapon, the strongest standard weapon in the game, and that is the Homogenizer. And the reason why I like remember the name is because this weapon made my Augusta that used the signature weapon from Carlotta. My Galbrena does more damage with this weapon than she did with Carlotta's damage, with the Carlotta's signature, by the way. So this weapon basically gives you 48% critical damage, attack percentage of 12% boost, high base attack, 20% all attribute damage increase, which is way better than any other standard weapon, even with crit stats. Like every other weapon doesn't give as much. This weapon basically gives what every other weapon gives as a stat stick, plus 20% damage increase. So it's like just better. Like any gun DPS in the future is just eating good. Like that's a double. You get the new gun DPSs, you're just eating good because you can just use this weapon on them. You can just pull multiple copies, have them all equip this, and just shred the endgame. So yeah, it's just so good. Like you need this weapon. You actually need this weapon. The next one will be a Gauntlet. This one is also like right here. This will be used on Luke Herson, and basically this makes so his signature is not needed, basically. Because this gives you 24% basic attack damage bonus if you attacking Tune Strain characters. Not characters but targets. Luke Herson will inflict that with his kit, so that's why this Gauntlet is made for him. So yeah, 24% at critical rate and high base attack. Yeah, easily W weapon. So yeah, all these are like such a good choices, but now unfortunately we need to cover the last standard weapon, which is the newest rectifier standard, and this one is just even worse than a sword because less base attack, same ER, gives some basic attack damage bonus, which is not even that huge. Bro, these weapons have no use case. Why pulling this as a stat stick for like future characters if you have so many better options? Like it's just getting copy of this is basically trading one copy of these. So nah, I just ain't doing that. And for a sword, actually, there's even less reason. The reason why, because the next option is basically the free version of the ER weapon that you can get, which is BLOODPACT'S Pledge. This one is basically free rover signature weapon you can obtain from quest, from getting more copies of this weapon from explorations in Septimont. So this weapon overall is just way better and makes AROVER actually do damage, actually be a good buffer for arrow teams. So unless you play in CADENZA team, this weapon can just easily be used as a stat stick. For whatever reason you would use this weapon, you can just use this weapon. Even this weapon has more use case, and it's like all the use case you will have for this weapon is basically free version. So it's like this weapon you need to spend pulls, this weapon is just free. So that's basically the difference, and this weapon can just has a use cases. Currently it's a good value but gimmick because only AROVER can fully benefit from it. But yeah, there's someone like Brand who is like not even like that good anymore, but is still strong, who can like get this weapon, use it before you get his signature. So it's very cool, nothing bad. So next one will be JIYAN signature. This one is amazing. You can use it on Augusta, and this weapon basically is like 10% slightly behind Augusta's weapon if you're fighting bosses. But if you're fighting mobs, this weapon can kind of outperform Augusta's weapon, which is ironic enough because this is 1.0 weapon. Augusta is like 2.6 characters, so yeah. This weapon is just good because you get 60% heavy attack damage bonus from activating intro skill and casting liberation, and it's basically what Augusta does at the beginning of rotation. So yeah, she just get all the damage bonuses from this weapon. This weapon is a 1.0 weapon, that's why it's like not really restrictive as much, and any future heavy attack broadblade user can use this weapon, and that's why it's almost like a future proof. Next one will be STRINGMASTER. This one is YINLIN signature from 1.0. This basically gives you 36% critical rate, 500 base attack, which is like fine, not bad. Gives you like 12% damage increase, up to 24% attack increase, so that's very like general universal like stat. So yeah, basically STRINGMASTER is a high value weapon. Until we get like a standard good standard rectifier, this weapon will be the best choice for any account. As soon as we get the standard version, this goes here, but for now it's here because you can get it on beginning banner for weapons. So yeah. Next one is JINHSI signature, and this one is basically same as JIYAN's weapon. Instead of heavy attack buffs, this gives same buffs but for resistance skill. Critical rate, high base attack, very high value. Currently only JINHSI can use it, but we can easily get another broadblade user, and it's so general, so universally activatable. So I would say it's just a matter of time before we get another user of this. And any user can just activate. It's just intro skill, and then you cast a resistance skill right after. You get full 48% buffs, plus permanent 12%. That's 60% resistance skill damage bonus. This weapon is just amazing. So yeah, very future proof. The next one will be ZHEZHI signature. This one is like kind of waste of pulls. If you don't already have it, it's a waste of pulls. There's just way better option for the same job, even as a signature. So yeah, not a good option. The next one will be CHANGLI signature. This one is high value because it's a sword. It gives 56 up to 56% resistance skill damage increase, 12% attack, and 48% critical damage, as well as high base attack. So this weapon is just generally good for rover. So AROVER, Havoc rover, and Spectre rover all get a lot of mileage out of having this resistance skill boost from this weapon. Just by doing damage and casting resistance skills, you get a lot of stacks very fast, and then you have a total of 56% damage bonus. Very good weapon, and currently, as far as I know, the only sword in the game that does have critical damage as a main stat. That's basically it for CHANGLI's signature. Very good, high value. Next one is a ZHEZHI signature weapon. This one is similar, I would say, somewhere here. This one basically works on ZHEZHI, which is 1.0 DPS, but also by just casting liberation, I think you just get 48%. Yeah, you get 48% liberation increase, and same like 12% all attribute damage increase as well. So 60% liberation increase for those users. It's a gauntlet. You can use it on Zhangliao, you can use it on Yuno, who also does a lot of damage. So Yuno also gets a lot of mileage out of this. She doesn't need her signature because of this. And high base attack. And honestly, I think it almost like same performance as Yuno signature, because Yuno signature has less base attack than this weapon. So it might be even better if you already have this weapon to just skip Yuno signature and use this instead. Next one will be Shorekeeper signature. This weapon used to be here. This weapon used to be here because Tower of Adversity and Whimpering Waste, you just required like few stuff. But now, if you don't have a lot of separate upgraded like variations, this weapon is now, you know, high value. This became high value, not really as high as the others. This can be used on anyone, right? It gives 8% concerto, gives way more energy regions, and gives entire team 14% extra attack increase. The reason why this weapon was not really well used, because 14% extra attack is not gonna increase your damage that much, but it's a nice buff. But now, this weapon has a bit more value as we go forward. Because it gives extra concerto again, and you can like use it on Verina. Verina can get this that extra buff to like keep up with the Shorekeeper. And so yeah, it's a very good weapon for like if you use Baiji as well, and for double pump matrix you need a lot of weapons. And so yeah, you don't really need this weapon, but it's like very high value now that we need a lot of weapons for double pump matrix. So yeah, at least the supports, they have like 2 uses on double pump matrix, so you can like use them on 2 teams. Every single support can be used on 2 teams, so it's like less priority, but still like I would say it's good to have now. Next one is CAMELLYA signature. This one is kind of like good value but gimmick. Not because it cannot be used, but it cannot be fully used. You can use like 30% of this basic attack damage from this, but the remaining 40% cannot be used by almost anyone. Only CAMELLYA, so this weapon is kind of gimmick. 30% is not really as good as 40, like 60% basically. So yeah, it's like not really as valuable. If you have it already, you can use it on like some future basic attack sword users. It's definitely better than Emerald Genesis on basic attack sword users, but not really as good as some other better options. So with that being said, the next one will be Carlotta signature, and this one is kind of like here. Yeah, it's a gun that gives a 48% resonance skill damage increase from casting every single time you like do resonance skill damage or whatever, like when you do intro skill and those stuff. But the problem with this weapon, it has low base attack. Gives 12% attack increase, gives high 72% critical damage, which is huge. But unless you're like resonance skill DPS that uses gun, this weapon is not really gonna be that good. So that's kind of specific, but again, with more such units, this weapon will be way better. And the Carlotta who uses this weapon is still very meta relevant. So yeah, very good weapon. The next one will be Rosia weapon, and this one is, I would say, good value but gimmick. So if this weapon basically gives you 3-second duration buff, but you can just attack constantly doing casting heavy attacks, and this will basically give you a heavy attack damage increase of 48%, and it's a very good weapon. However, only Zani and Rosia can actually leverage these buffs, and no one else can. So unless you have like specific units in the future who can also like in the same way activate this weapon, it's not really as good as some of the better option. I would rather go for like standard gauntlet than using this. So if you have it already, it's kind of like better than CAMELLYA one, but it's almost here, but I will say here because it's like you need a specific way of kit being like leveraging this buff, right? Because it's like you need to use heavy attacks or basic attacks to actually get this buff. So unless the future unit that does basic attacks and then like it does heavy attack damage, yeah, this weapon is just not gonna work. The next one will be Phoebe weapon, and this one is like not even good value. Like it's like low value, specific, like she can use anything else and it will be good. I think she can even use this weapon. Funny enough, she can probably use the Rosia weapon because her heavy attacks are doing way more damage, And if she's like in confession state, which is if you use it with Zani, you don't even need her sig because she's not doing any damage. And so yeah, her signature is like low value, too specific. Yeah. The next one will be the Brand's weapon. This weapon is even more specific, but Brand with this weapon or without this weapon, the difference is huge. Huge difference. So I would say this is a very powerful weapon when equipping on Brand, but anyone else, it just sucks. But it's a good value, but it's a very gimmick and only for Brand. Anyone else is just not worth it. The next one will be Cantarella's signature, and this one will be kind of specific for basic attack users only. Now, it can be here, but because of the low, only instead of 48, you get 40% basic attack damage bonus. Because after you activate intro skill, you need to activate, you need to deal echo skill damage. And basically how that works is that you need to activate your echo. And echo will do echo skill damage, but the problem is actually you need to cast the echo skill. You need to cast echo skill after intro skill, and then you get this. But however, the only one who can use this right now is Encore. And Encore, her best echo is basically Inferno Rider, who transforms. So that can actually take a bit of time. You can actually dash cancel it, so that's good. So yeah, at least something, but yeah, Encore can use this weapon, and the buff lasts for 10 seconds, so it's like good value, but I would say a bit more gimmick, and the low base attack, high critical damage, so yeah, it's a good trade-off. I would say it might be the best in slot for Encore, but again, she's a standard unit, so it's not really a meta-relevant weapon, I would say. So, but yeah, it is usable by those who deal basic attack damage and use this gauntlet. Next one will be Zani's signature, and this one, like, yeah, it is good, but with the Rosia weapon, working on Rosia and Zani, and this weapon not really being like that, I would say even Phoebe's weapon is better. So yeah, this weapon is just a stat stick, but again, we have a standard stat stick, so no reason to get this weapon. Next one will be Chacona's signature, and this is a good value. This is probably among the best on this category, because this weapon says that if you inflict air erosion, you get on your character, you get a 24% damage bonus for the user. Then when you attack a target with the erosion stacks, then entire team gets a buff of ignoring 10% boss's arrow resistance, which is very good. 10% arrow resistance is very good. For Cartetia team, this is very good, but any team outside of Cartetia doesn't really need this weapon to work. JIYAN doesn't really need this weapon. He can also use static mist buffs from Chacona, and so this weapon is not really that good because static mist exists. So yeah, it's right here. It's a good weapon, it's a good buff, but it's not really like needed to clear. Next one is Cartetia signature, and this one is like, this is basically a must-have if you have Cartetia. So yeah, she without this weapon, the only next weapon that you can equip is like Emerald Genesis, but it's not really that good. So yeah, like this weapon is just almost a must for her, but anyone else just cannot use this weapon. That's basically what it is for in terms of value. Next weapon is the Lupa signature, and this weapon I would say is here, because this weapon works on Lupa, but also it works on Calcharo, who's like standard unit and one of the good options you can use as a standard unit. However, it's not a must, but it's definitely a high value weapon, because this weapon gives Lupa more personal damage and also buffs entire fusion mono fusion team by 24% extra damage bonus. And Lupa also gives a lot of buffs for entire team, so this just adds up and makes it be even more good. If you someone like using Calcharo like I do, this weapon will be his best in slot, because it gives a 24% liberation damage increase as a broadblade. And yeah, it's a very powerful weapon. Next one is Frolova's signature. This one is basically giving you 8% defense ignore and 32% resistance skill damage bonus, as well as 32% echo damage amplification within the 5th 12 seconds after casting or actually dealing echo skill damage. So basically, intro in, activate your echo because they will always do echo skill damage, and then these buffs are applied to you. Now, the reason why this is here is because Frolova, who's currently almost the best unit in the game still, she uses this weapon, and she's very, very powerful with this weapon. She doesn't really need that much teammates, so this weapon is a high value. However, unless you're a resin skill user, a resin skill damage dealer like Frolova, this weapon will not really be that strong, but you'll still get that 8% def ignore, which is like only good against bosses and not against mobs. Against mobs, it might be like 5% damage increase, and that's like 5% damage bonus, not really increase. So it's like not a big increase against small enemies because they have low defense anyway, but bosses have more defense, and so like when they have more defense, defense ignore becomes stronger damage increase. So yeah, definitely a good weapon for resin skill rectifier users. Outside of that is not really the best, but again, it's a strong weapon. Next one is Yuno. This one is just very good on Yuno, but because, yeah, I will just put it here. Honestly, it's just here. It's very specific. It gives you like 20% for any user of liberation damage bonus, and everything else is locked behind like defense ignore, but you need to apply shields up to 5 times. In short, Yuno is the only one who can apply all those buffs. This signature from Zhang Liao, in my opinion, is way better and way more valuable for any future Gauntlet Liberation user. So yeah, that's for Yuno. Next one is Augusta signature. This one is, I would say, because how good this weapon is on Augusta, this Augusta signature, in my opinion, is all the way here. Like, at least Yuno's signature can be used as a stat stick. This weapon right here cannot be used as a stat stick. Put this weapon on anyone besides Augusta and you will underperform. You might as well, I'll go as far as saying this standard Broadblade will outperform this weapon on any other Broadblade user outside of Augusta. That's how bad it is. Like 12% critical rate makes so you still need to use 4 cost critical rate echo. So that's very terrible value, in my opinion, even worse than Yuno's signature. So yeah, that's why it is that low. The next weapon will be Galbrena's signature, and even though Galbrena is my main, I have to be honest, this weapon looks amazing, but when it comes to value, the damage difference between this standard gun and Galbrena's signature is almost like 10%, barely 10% difference. That's terrible value for this weapon, because this weapon, outside of being Galbrena's best weapon, is just a stat stick. And this weapon on any character in the game and Galbrena is a stat stick plus 20% damage increase. So it's like this weapon on Galbrena might be like 10% better than this weapon, but then on every single character pistol used in a game, this weapon will outperform this weapon. So it's like usually it will be like stat stick, and like they both perform the same, but this one just gets extra 20% like damage increase to anyone who uses the weapon, and this weapon just doesn't. So it's like, yeah, like on Galbrena is like small difference, but then any other user just benefits from this weapon more than from this weapon. So it's like terrible value. Any gun is getting nerfed. Actually, yeah, I'll put this because there's currently no uses, and there's like standard version is like almost better because higher base attack and everything. Yeah, it's kind of rough for Galbrena's and the Carlotta signature to be like higher than this. Like high value should be something that can be like giving you way better performance than standard weapons, but this is like small difference between these weapons. So nah, yeah, it's getting there. The next one is Chuyan signature. I would say this one is here. Might be high value like right here, because Chuyan, this signature can be used on any sword user that inflicts heavy attack damage. 30% free heavy attack damage bonus, also 20% echo skill damage increase to entire team. So very good if you play Sanhua on Frolova team, or Dungeon, who's usually played on Frolova team with this weapon. Dungeon will do way more damage. Frolova's all field echo skill damage will do even more. So yeah, this weapon is very good on Danjin, so I'll say high value, and any future heavy attack damage user with this weapon will be very good. And because how good Frolova is, you can just slot them as a sub DPS with that DPS, and yeah, she will also get a lot of benefit from the weapon and the main DPS as well. So this weapon is very good. I would say not like the highest value. I think the other ones are like more valuable. I think these were like more specific, but these ones are like, in my opinion, better than these ones. But this one still like can be very good. The next one will be Chisa's weapon. This one's like complete garbage. Like unless you're using, well, okay, if you're using Chisa, this weapon is like cool, right? But it's like her Sonata set just says if you don't have this weapon, she's not worth like she's almost the same value as the next best option without this weapon. With this weapon, she's like 10% better. In Aimit team, she's 10% better than Shorekeeper. In Kartetia team, she's 10% better than AROVER, but AROVER is a free option. And so like, nah, the character itself is not really as valuable. So her weapon, basically low attack, good critical rate, but the buffs are like so bad, is like so gimmick, is not even good. But yeah, you need this weapon for Chisa to be outperforming second best option, which is kind of terrible, but it is what it is. Yeah, these other weapons doesn't really need their user to use them to outperform, but yeah, it is what it is. The next one is Lene. Lene, however, is giving 36% basic attack damage increase to any gun user that uses this weapon. So basically any gun user can use this weapon that does basic attack damage and get a lot of mileage. So any future basic attack DPS with a gun can just use this one and still perform very well. So that's very high value in my opinion for now, until we get another like general like stat stick. The next one will be Moni's signature, and this one, because Discord 4-star Discord is so good, this weapon is just here. Not enough, like this R5 Discord, which is way easier to obtain than one copy of Moni's signature, kinda outperforms Moni's signature. And that's why this signature is here. Usually that was the same reason for Shorekeeper's weapon, but there are way more rectifier supports than Broadblade supports. So yeah, there's just only one, and that one is like outperforming by 4-star, and her signature is not even that needed. So yeah, I would say yeah. And no one else can use this besides like Tao Chi, barely, but even her cannot really fully leverage these buffs, but yeah. Next one will be Amit's signature. I would say Amit's signature is fine, but is very dependent on Amit only for now, because no other sword user in the game can get any of the buffs besides the stat stick, because you need to inflict the fusion burst or shifting. And unless Fusion Rover actually inflicts burst, and if he does some damage, right, this can go here, right, in a high value. But for now, it's like gimmick. It's not really that good. Amit's weapon is strong on her, gives like 20% damage increase in performance compared to like Emerald Genesis. But this weapon is like not really that, like not the big deal if you like have fully built Amit. Fully built like team. It's a good stat stick, however, but like you have way more budget stat stick, and you still like shredding the content right now and in the future with Amit, with the Emerald Genesis. So yeah, this weapon is not really needed. Next one will be Luke Herson weapon. Because this gauntlet right here exists, this weapon is easily just yeah, the difference, I would say low gimmick. It's probably good value, but we need to see the performance difference. Otherwise I would put it here, but I want to see the performance difference. So yeah, if this 24% basic attack damage increase for Luke will be enough to like have like only 10% difference, then this weapon goes here. If it's like more than 10% difference, then I would say okay, this weapon is a good decent increase, so it deserves to be here. But yeah, overall, everything remaining. This is just a reskin of Amit's weapon, so I didn't include it. But yeah, this is basically my tier list. I think I was fair enough. These are basically the weapons that you need to prioritize. Like these standard weapons are just the best. Variation, Overture, these are just the best weapons. These weapons are high value. You can easily get a lot of future-proof value by having them. If you already have them, sure. These first 4, I would say, are the most valuable. Maybe even this signature from JIYAN. Yeah, I would say like those are the best. This signature is kind of very high value because very good unit is using this. Like almost the best DPS in the game. Frolova is using this weapon and she's the best Wiwa character and easily one of the best TOA characters in the game. So, and she doesn't really need her specific teammates to actually work. You can put the Verina and Spectral Rover and she's like fine. So that's why I think this weapon is among budget as well, because she doesn't really require teammates to work. She can like be slotted anywhere and give amazing performance. So yeah, with all this being said, I think this is a little bit more leverage now, more meta relevant, this one a bit more. Yeah, that's basically how it goes. I think this was fair enough. Let me know in the comment section below what you would change here, if you think I was fair enough, if I was too harsh, if I was too generous, whatever. Let me know in the comment section below, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Peace!